all set, Fred? All right. The theme for tonight is making an impact. So I am going to put that up here. And I'm going to circle influential and making an impact. And up here, those of you in the back should be able to see this fine. Free to money or fee. Okay, let's get to it. All of you are in Toastmasters to learn how to give better presentations, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Very good. This is interactive. Interactive. Good. So, you're here to learn how to give better speeches, better presentations. You're probably also here for other reasons, how to communicate better with your boss, your subordinates, your family, whomever. Now, obviously, whenever you're speaking at a Toastmasters meeting, you're technically doing it for free. Nobody's paying you. You really aren't, because you're being evaluated. You're developing your skill set, which will ultimately lead to fee. But for right now, you're doing it for free. Okay? So the big question mark is, how do we use this arrow? How do we move from free over to the paid circuit? Now, Shayna, you are a baker, correct? You do a lot of cooking?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you may not use them now, but would it be fair to say that in the past, you have used something called a recipe?
Yes.
Why would you use a recipe when you're first starting?
Because it's more likely to be a guarantee that it'll come out well.
Right. Okay, so there's steps, there's ingredients, there's a flow to it. You put stuff into a bowl, you mix it up, you put it into a pan, into the oven it goes, out it comes, and you have, let's say, chocolate chip cookies. Okay? So, the secret, if you will, to this arrow is the word recipe. If you look at anybody that is being paid to speak about anything, you will find out that they all use the same recipe to get to that paid circuit. They may use the recipe in a different way, but they're still using the same recipe. The recipe is really not what you think it is either. Let me draw. This is meant to be a stool. Don't laugh at me, please. But this is meant to be a stool. On one leg of the stool, you have speaking. On the other side, you have this really nasty word that people don't like to talk about called marketing. Now, I'm over here on the speaking side of the stool. I have vocal variety. I can talk really loud. I can talk kind of soft. I can use gestures. I can use eye contact. I can say hi to Zach. I can do a lot of things. I can have the best speech you've ever seen. Here's the thing. If all it took was the best speech in the world, there would be several million speakers getting paid to talk. There aren't several million speakers getting paid to talk. There's a lot of them not getting paid. And the reason they're not getting paid is because they don't know or they're afraid of this second part of the stool, the second leg, and that's marketing. Now, when we talk about fee-based speaking, most people, when they talk about fee, they're talking about a speaking fee. In other words, I get a phone call. Is Mr. Transue? Yes, it is. We need somebody to talk about professional speaking for a half an hour in a month. Can you do that for us? Why, yes, I can. What is your fee, sir? Let's say $1,500. Would that fit into your budget? Yes, it would. Well, thank you very much. I'll see you in a month. That's what most people look at when they talk about fee. Let me circle for you the R in free, because the R in free talks about aspects of income from speaking that a lot of people don't really think about very much. And I'm going to give you the recipe for moving over to the paid circuit. And I'm also going to give you a crash course on putting together a 45-minute keynote. 45-minute keynote recipe, done. You could give one tomorrow if you have the recipe, and we're going to go over it. So, how do we do this marketing thing on this stool here? Well, there's something called a book, and there's something called a webinar. These are really interchangeable. So I'm going to put up and down arrows on both of them. How many people in here think that they could write a book? Nice, about half the room. Let me prove to you that you can write a book. Several years ago, there was a book that came out, the title of which was Everything Men Know About Women. Great title. What do you think was inside? It was 50 blank pages. Everything Men Know About Women. It was a gag gift. And that's what it was meant to be, was a gag gift. And this sold something like 500,000 copies at $1.99 or so. Something like that. So if somebody can market a book with no words, you can be an author. Okay, fair enough? Now, even if you don't think you can be an author, something called a webinar here. How many of you know Microsoft PowerPoint or could learn it? Almost everybody now, okay. So you could take an area of knowledge that you have, put together 20 PowerPoint slides, and you could deliver your knowledge, your expertise on a webinar, obviously with people calling in and listening to you. Here's where they're interchangeable. Actually, if you're more comfortable with the book first, write the book, base the webinar off of it. If you're more comfortable with the webinar, do the PowerPoint webinar, leads to the book. Because what are you doing with the webinar? It's being recorded. You're recording your own voice. Transcribe it. There's your book. Done. Your book, I have one right here. This is a book by a woman named Dani Johnson, who is a fairly well-known motivational speaker, and she has pretty much perfected the art of getting paid to talk. I'm not so much concerned that you understand the title. It's called First Steps to Wealth. What I want to do here is pass this around, and I want each one of you to look at the end of one of the chapters. You're going to see something very interesting there. At the end of each one of the chapters, there are testimonials about the wonderful results her clients have gotten from her boot camps. Now, why would she put in testimonials at the end of each chapter about the wonderful results from her boot camps? Because she's trying to sell her boot camps. She's trying to sell her boot camps. So, as we move farther down, boot camp, and this can all come under one big word: coaching. Okay. If I am an expert in an area, and I've written a book about it, I've done a webinar about it, is it conceivable that I could teach somebody else what I know? I already have in a lot of ways with the book and the webinar. Is it conceivable that I could put together a boot camp, or I could put together some sort of coaching program that would delve deeper on a more personal basis about what it is I know? The answer, of course, anyone could do that. In fact, let's just say at the end of the book or at the end of the webinar, I say, well, if you liked what you heard so far, how would you like to hear more? How many people on that webinar are likely to raise their hands in cyberspace? Yes, I'd love to hear more. That leads to a website that you have created, which leads to them giving you their first name and email address. Offer them something for free, like a downloadable PDF with more information. Now you're developing a subscriber list from which and to which you can market your coaching. Okay? So, we start with the book or the webinar. Either way you feel more comfortable. Boot camp, coaching, relatively the same thing. A boot camp is a bigger event. Coaching tends to be more one-on-one. Okay? Now, what does this R mean up here? I took it out of, you can actually take it out of the word free and it becomes fee. There's an R here. That R stands for retailing. Okay. So in reality, any fee you ever earned by being a platform speaker may or may not be trumped by the money you earn in all these other ways. Okay, now going back to the stool. If I got rid of the speaking and I just had the marketing, it wouldn't work because I'm marketing nothing. Okay? My talk is all about my knowledge, my expertise, things of that nature. So if I take the marketing out, that's it. I have a great speech, but no one's going to know about it. If I take the speaking out, I'm marketing nothing, which is just as self-defeating. Okay? Now, keynote addresses that many people in the paid circuit are paid to give. The recipe for a keynote, if you are ready to hear it, is this. And I am going to, I don't have an eraser up here, but I am going to actually, let's do this. Fred, if you could panoramic around, give everybody in the back here a chance to see this. Here's a keynote. Okay. Point one, story. lesson. Point 2, story, lesson. Point 3, point 4, point 5, you get the idea. These are individual units. Okay. Now, the word story is in here. We pay Hollywood billions of dollars to do what? Ultimately, to tell us stories. Stories are one of the single best ways you can get a point across to anybody. Going back to being an author, writing a book, there is something every one of you possesses already. You've already got it. You could give it away for free or you could charge for it. Nobody else has it. Nobody else is as an expert on it as you are. If you went and did a Google search for it, it would not come up unless you intentionally put it there. What I'm getting at is your story. Your story. What you're really marketing is your expertise and your knowledge based from your own story. Where you came from, the turning point, and the results. Where you came from, the turning point, and the results. All right? So now, this doesn't feel quite as lofty because we have this thing called social media where you can go on LinkedIn and Facebook and connect with people who are in your niche, who are in your field of expertise, connect with them and say, how would you like to collaborate on something? I've had it happen twice so far to me personally as I started this process. I'm doing a webinar on taxes and small business in the fall to a 10,000 person subscriber list. Not all 10,000 are going to show up, I know that, but a couple thousand probably will. And next May, a contact that I made down in Maryland who has struggled with epilepsy her whole life, we're going to do a series of actually two webinars. One on her story about epilepsy, the other one about being employable, getting employment, other things of that nature with a disability, with an impairment, okay? So you connect through social media, and this starts going 24/7, especially the webinar. That's never going anywhere because you can upload that anywhere you want to, okay? So from a 30,000 foot view, there you have from free to fee. Madam Toastmaster.